What's up, guys, and welcome to the second edition of 21-Minute Debates, where two parties argue the most triggering social and political issues in 21 minutes or less. Today's topic: should abortion be illegal? Our two contenders today are Reese and Joel. What's up, guys?
How you doing?
What's up, guys?
I'm good, man. Everybody feel good, energized? Everybody ready to get started?
Of course.
I feel great. Thank you.
Awesome,
Yes.
man. Awesome. So before we do, man, let me tell you how this is going to break down. So each of you will get 3 minutes to present your opening statements. After this, we will have 4 rounds of rebuttals, 2 minutes each. This is followed by a 5-minute open discussion round where the floor is completely open and you can freely debate and ask each other questions. The debate will then close with a 1-minute closing statement from each of you. Do you guys have any questions?
No, sir.
I think I'm good.
Do you care who goes first?
Not at all.
Awesome. So, Joel, I'm going to have you go ahead and start. You have 3 minutes. Give me 1 second. Let me just make sure that I have my timer ready for you. And you can go ahead and get started.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. So, my name is Joel Brown. I am interested in politics for the most part. I enjoy hearing various political discussions from both the left and the right. I do street videos at political events in my state. I live in Florida, Central Florida. I try to go out to as many events that I can for different topics. I like to ask people about things that are happening in our society, current events revolving around the current political climate, and things that actually have an impact in our day-to-day lives. I like to hear what the common man has to say. I would identify myself as a classical libertarian / classical liberal. I believe in personal freedom. I believe in choice as a part of our democratic process. And when it comes to the topic of abortion, I am very much pro-choice. In fact, I'm staunchly pro-choice for that matter. And I fundamentally disagree with the pro-life stance for a variety of reasons. But as a whole, I would say that my stance is actually a much better stance simply because our stance actually lives within our name, which is pro-choice. We believe that the individual should have the choice to have an abortion or not have an abortion. That's what choice is all about. The beauty of America and our system is that we're actually able to make our own decisions and choices in life, and at the same time, we are supposed to deal with the consequences of our actions and choices, whether they be positive or negative. I would say that the topic of abortion is part of that. There are a number of things that contribute to one's decision-making process when talking about things like abortion, and that those decisions have an impact on multiple parties. While I believe the individual has the final and ultimate say in whether they would like to have an abortion, I feel that making abortion illegal and forcing an individual, in this case a woman, to have a child is actually detrimental to both her, the individual, and society if that individual is unable to support that child for reasons that I'm sure we'll get into in this debate shortly. Overall, I feel like abortion is a good thing for society, and it actually promotes and encourages the idea that people are free to do what they want with themselves and their bodily autonomy, and that the government should have no authority over that decision. So abortion, I don't think should be something that's necessarily debated. I think it's just something that happens to be debated because a lot of people use their own moral objectivity. A lot of times they use their religion as a way to debate this type of thing, and I think that that's wrong, and I don't agree with it at all. Like I said, I fundamentally disagree with the pro-life stance for the most part, and on the topic of whether abortion should be legal or illegal, I absolutely say it should be legal. So that's my stance.
Awesome. All right, man. Very well said. Very well said. And we are going to go ahead. Let me start this. And Reese, you can give your 3-minute opening statement.
All right, so guys, I'm going to pretty much jump right into this. My name is Reese. I'm also known as TheConservativeValues on TikTok. And I am totally against abortion. And that is because I live under the principle that everyone should have a chance at life. In the abortion argument, the major aspect of pro-choicers is the choice. The epitome of the I am a woman, it's my choice statement is basically just because it's under control of the woman, she can do what she wants with it. However, would you say the same if someone's abusing their dog in their backyard, or if the woman was even abusing her child? Then would you say it's her choice? The focal point of the pro-choice stance is to devalue the human being that's inside the womb. Pro-choicers claim everything from it not being a human life to that life not being valuable. Pro-choicers like to simplify that human being, that human embryo, to a clump of cells. This has been proven to not be the case, seeing that 95% of biologists agree that life starts at conception. See, the truth lies in the fact that science backs up the statement that a human embryo is a complex being with its own genetic code right at conception. I mean, the human life in the womb really does not depend on the mother other than for nutrition and for her womb in order to grow. Oh, but the baby is still dependent on the mother. Well, so is a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old. Dependency shouldn't choose whether something is considered life or not. Trying to say that dependency does choose what is life and what's not is a total survival of the fittest mentality. But then that isn't enough for the pro-choicers. They continue to say, well, it doesn't have all its body parts yet, or it's very small. So are we now saying humans that are born that are small or are missing body parts don't count as life? Or how about people who are on assisted living? Do we kill them too? But after that, they still aren't finished. Pro-choicers then like to try to say, well, we aren't going to count that baby as a person until it's born. Why is that? Is it because that baby can't contribute to society yet? Because if so, then they can't do that as an infant either. Oh, but it continues. The pro-choicers begin by saying that nobody adopts because they don't care about that life after it's born. Actually, pro-lifers adopt twice as much as anyone else. Men adopt twice as much as women, and Christians actually adopt twice as much as non-Christians. There are 443,000 kids in foster care, but actually 2 million couples waiting to adopt, which is roughly 36 couples per kid in foster care. I will agree foster care needs reform in a bad way. So how about we fund our foster care system more than abortions? Pro-choicers then say, well, then let's just go ahead and look at the families who have to raise their kids in hardships. What about them? So now can we continue to justify killing to prevent that situation? There are so many famous and rich people that we see now that have suffered through hardships and have actually made their way out of these hardships. And not to try to make the statement that it happens to everyone, because it obviously does not, but people will still be able to make their living off of the money that they receive through working hard in the system. Now, they'll say, well, let's go ahead and look at the women in this situation. Cambridge did a study that showed that women have a higher risk of suffering from mental illness and showed a decline in mental health when having an abortion. What about women who die during pregnancy? Well, 700 women die annually from childbirth in the United States, and a large portion of those are due to not treating themselves with the required care before and after conception. While any women dying from pregnancy is awful, more people have died from coronavirus in America than the number of women that will die from pregnancy over this entire year.
All right. Okay, that was a lot. That was a lot, Reese.
I try to cover as much as I can quickly.
A lot of points, man. A lot of points. So, and I'm sure that Joel is gonna have something to say about something that you said. So, Joel, you have up to 2 minutes for your first rebuttal.
Absolutely. So as you said, there was a lot that Reese said in there, a lot that needs to be unpacked. Let's just start with a few things because from what I heard, I tried to highlight the key points in what I heard. The idea that everybody should have a choice in life. Well, the thing is that when it comes to the argument that everybody should have a choice in life, that's usually referring to people who are currently alive, who are people who are in our system who actually count. When it comes to abortion, when it comes to terminating a pregnancy, it's mainly a clump of cells that's being destroyed. And I would be curious to hear what Reese has to say about when life is considered life. And I think I did hear him say that life begins at conception. And he said that 95% of scientists or biologists agree with that. I'd love to see the source for that because from my understanding, there is actually no clear or concise answer in regards to when life actually begins. In fact, from what I've seen, the science actually shows that life, the fetus in this case, actually isn't able to feel pain until about 27 weeks into the pregnancy. So for that directly contradicts what Reese says about the life beginning at conception. There's no answer to answer this. Nobody really knows. And to pretend like Reese or any other scientist knows this answer is false. There's no actual scientific data that proves that whatsoever. So I'd love to see the source that Reese is citing here because I think that that's totally incorrect. In regards to the pro-choice stance being comparable to a person abusing their dog or their child, I think that's ridiculous. I mean, abusing a dog, he asked, will we be okay with a person choosing to harm their dog or their child? Of course not. That's a ridiculous comparison. Of course I don't think that that's okay. I think that those are two totally different things. No, yeah, totally different things. Abusing your dog, abusing your child, a living being is a lot different than terminating a clump of cells. So that would be my main argument against what Reese has said so far within that 2-minute span. I could go on.
Time. All right. Okay. All right. So, so Reese, what do you have to say? You have 2 minutes for your rebuttal.
So basically, to respond to that, Stephen Jacobs at the University of Chicago did a survey consensus out of thousands of biologists, and 95% of them agreed in their own opinion that life starts at conception. So whether you want to say that life starting at conception is not a proven fact, the biologists that work in this field, much more than either of us probably ever will, agree that it does start at conception. And they're the people that are actually dealing in this matter. So let's not act like that their opinion does not matter in this situation. But not to mention the fact that also Princeton University has put a great list of sources together proving the fact that life doesn't indeed start at conception. A lot of pro-choicers are willing to admit that life does start there, but then they try to devalue that life by, giving circumstances as in why it's not as important as people who have already been born. To your response about the actual lives not being a meaningful, part because they're just a clump of cells and you're simply terminating a pregnancy. It goes further than that because of the situation that you run into whenever you're dealing with that matter is that whether that human life has what you consider to be valuable, it's still human life in the end. And you cannot just say that you can take away a human life because you don't deem it good enough, because you don't deem it to be life. I would love to see, to just counteract your point, I'd love to see a source that says that life does not start at conception and that gives reasonable fact to as why it does. Because as you just said, there's no one out there that can simply prove that is a fact. However, 95% of the biologists that deal in this matter agree that that is the case. It all comes down to whether you find that life valuable or not. And one thing you find in most pro-choicers is that they don't find it valuable. And it doesn't come down to Christianity morals. It comes down to morals in general.
All right. All right, Joel, you have up to 2 minutes to go ahead and have your next rebuttal.
Right. So what Reese was saying here, again, I'd love to see the studies that actually show that. I need to see them in order to believe them. 95% of scientists saying that human life begins at conception. I got to see that because, again, many scientists that I've seen, and I'll get into this, the sources here. Many scientists would actually say,
Joel,
that
let me interrupt for a second, and I'm gonna stop your clock so that it doesn't count against you. So in a debate, right? In most debates, it's not like people typically have computers at their disposal where they can just go ahead and fact check or look up their phones or whatever, right? So when we have this, and I agree that you would want to see, the facts on that. But can you take the hypothetical that he's telling the truth? If he's not telling the truth, then
I don't do hypotheticals.
It's not real.
I don't do
well,
hypotheticals.
how can you, if you can't
I'm
see
going
it
based
right
off my own
there,
research,
how
not
would you be able to
hypotheticals.
refute it?
Well, because, again, I don't do hypotheticals. I'm not going to say, well, you might be right or you're right, because I don't know if that's true. Well, I'm not going to give into a position that I haven't researched. Well, I have researched, but I have not seen anywhere what Reese is discussing here. So therefore, I am going to counteract it by saying I haven't seen it. I would prefer to say I don't know something about the subject. I don't know his sources, rather than blindly give into it. That doesn't seem
so
like
if
a fair
he was
debate.
right, you can't even say if he was right what you would think, because
Again,
if
I
he was
don't do
right, would that change
hypotheticals.
your mind at all?
No, it wouldn't. I don't do
Okay, so then
number one.
So then it doesn't really matter, right?
No.
It doesn't actually matter if he shows you the source or not. The only thing is that it wouldn't matter because you wouldn't believe it, right?
Right, I wouldn't believe it. It's not that I wouldn't believe it.
I'm sorry, you said that it wouldn't change your perspective.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay,
it wouldn't
so then I would just say that.
I can't say he's right or wrong. You're framing this as a way for me to admit that
what I'm
he's right.
saying is, and I still do have the clock stop, by the way. And what I'm saying is, this is the power of the moderator to jump in here for some bullshit. So what I'm saying is that it doesn't actually matter to you whether he's right or wrong. Because even if he was right, right, so then that's what I'm saying is that then it wouldn't even matter. Is because even if it's 95% or 99% to you, it still would be, it would make no difference.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because the thing is that if he's right on the,
I'm gonna start your clock again. So it's 1:35.
Oh, well, if we're gonna start the clock, then I'm not gonna answer.
Yeah, just continue your thought.
Okay, absolutely. So many scientists will say that they don't actually know when life begins. There's a few key points in when it comes to pregnancy. And this is determined by the NYU Medical Center. We talk about universities and things like that. First is the conception. The second is the development of the spine. And the third is the development of the brain, consciousness, things like that, et cetera, et cetera. That perspective actually has very deep roots. So when we're talking about the concept of a life, it's really not a human life. Again, I would say it's a clump of cells. I've always been very clear on that until the 27th week when it's actually developing into a person. I'd be happy to provide the sources as well for that. But yeah, no, again, as I said in my last point, there's no concrete evidence that supports the claim that scientists have determined exactly when the point of conception is. And once again, I can't say yes or no in regards to what Reese has been saying, because I have not seen, based off of my heavy research, I have not seen any sort of source that agrees with Reese that says that 95 or any percentage of these scientists think that life begins at conception. I have not seen any sort of source for that whatsoever. So again, I tell you, I believe, regardless of the source or not, I need to see it. And number two, if it's true, I think that the person should be able to make that decision for themselves. That's my stance. That's always been my stance. That's what plays into the pro-choice side. We believe you either have if you want to be pro-life for yourself, that's absolutely fine. If you want to be pro-choice for yourself, you make that decision for yourself. Studied. I need to see.
And then you would change your mind?
If I see the data, I could potentially say, okay, well, if 95% of scientists, which I highly doubt, agree that it is that human life begins at conception, I would say, you know what? At the end of the day, the person that's bearing the child has precedence over the quote unquote fetus. Absolutely. So
okay, so you wouldn't change your mind. So then go ahead. So Reese, you have 2 minutes on your clock, sir.
Okay, so just to go ahead and start off with something here. I wouldn't necessarily say that a lack of research is necessarily a great excuse to say that, well, I'm not going to agree with that statement. I would like to argue the fact that, let's say that regardless of whether you want to admit if it's human life or not, we are all basing this upon opinions of what you think is life.
But go ahead.
Okay. Well, okay. You can, and we beg to differ on that. But what the pro-choicers like to say is they like to choose at what stage do we consider it to be life? What stage do we consider it to be important? So if you're making your own decision on that, then I could make the same decision at someone who's on their deathbed. Say someone's 95 years old, they're on life support. I can indeed. If
Joel, just go ahead and wait till
I apologize.
I
know we have a free brawl coming up. Absolutely, go ahead. I apologize.
So, and in the situation that a 95-year-old is on their deathbed right now, they're on life support. If I don't deem that human being important to me, it's just as valid as you saying that you don't deem a human life who's still in the womb as important. They're simply in just two different stages in life. That's all that it is. And you can say that just because that you don't deem it as life, that it's okay, then that's fine. But I just consider that a lack of research and a false opinion.
All right. Okay. Heating up. All right. So we're going to go ahead and go to our 5-minute open round. This is the last round before your closing statement. So go ahead and you guys are free to debate.
Joel, I'd like to let you. I would love to let you go ahead and start on this since I just did my rebuttal.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is very interesting. We only got 5 minutes, so I'll try to make it quick. I'm just going to come out with the question, and I don't mean this in an insulting way, but what exactly do you propose we do to reduce abortions?
We make it illegal altogether. I think that's what the topic is about as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So we go ahead and make abortions illegal, and the foster care system needs reform. I am all for that, 100%. Whether we make abortions illegal or not, it needs to happen. But we need some leeway on the pro-choicer part too, because truth be told.
So you're more of a moderate in regards to this situation. You're not fully, because you're saying, you're making some pretty bold claims. You're saying that it should be illegal. However, you're willing to give some sort of leeway and credence to the pro-choice side. Is that correct?
Oh, no. That's not what I was saying. What I was saying is we shouldn't be expected to totally reform the foster care system if none of you are willing to even entertain the fact that abortions be illegal.
Well, what if we could avoid that crisis altogether in regards to adoption? Because you agree with me that the adoption, there's a lot of kids in foster care who don't end up getting picked up, right? A lot.
I wouldn't.
Hundreds of thousands across the country.
443,000 as an estimate of how many kids are in foster care right now. But I gave the number as well of 2 million couples that are waiting to adopt right now. It's not necessarily about people not wanting these kids it seems like you believed in that statement. It's about the fact that our nation makes it too difficult to adopt these kids. It costs $40,000. It's called $40,000 to adopt one child, and that shouldn't be like that at all. So it's not the fact that we don't have people that wants these kids. It's the fact that our nation makes it too difficult to adopt these kids. So how about we fix both ends of the situation and just keep kids alive in the first place, and then we let them and then we give them a family that's actually going to be able to afford adopting them in the first place.
Well, when you say keep these kids alive, you're using kids you're comparing them to a clump of cells in the womb, which once again, they're not considered life until about 27 weeks in. And the thing is,
your opinion.
It's not my opinion. That's based on
it is indeed.
Data.
No, it's based on my data too. I can count your data just as credible as you're wanting to count mine.
Okay, right. Well, do you honestly believe, because you're a Republican, right? You're always talking about vote. I've seen some of your videos. You talk about voting Republican. You support Trump.
I don't vote on party lines, but I do support Trump 100%.
Well, I've seen your TikToks, and you use the hashtag Republican quite a lot. So I would imagine are you
what?
Actually,
what?
I've seen it.
You can't use that. You cannot use that as the reason why I'm a Republican. You use that hashtag to find people that want to see your videos. What?
So you're not really a Republican.
No, I'm a conservative.
Wait a minute, aren't you? You're 17. You're not even registered, are you?
I am registered to vote under the United States. Yes, I am. You can register to vote as long as you're going to be able to vote in the upcoming election. I will be turning 18 next month.
So what are you registered as right now?
I'm registered as a Republican only simply because it agrees mostly with my beliefs.
Guys, we have less than 2 minutes, so let's stay on track.
If you honestly believe that Republicans give a shit about reducing the number of abortions, you're wrong. In states like New Mexico, Arkansas, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Texas, for God's sake, Louisiana, all ran by Republican congressmen and women. So and Republicans, and this is verifiable fact, states that are ran by conservatives like yourself and Republicans tend to have higher rates of teen pregnancy and higher rates of abortion. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I'm aware of the fact that we have higher rates of teen pregnancy. But first off, to your statement about saying that we don't care about people that are having abortions, that's totally false. I mean, Roe v. Wade is a national Supreme Court case.
Right, and Republicans have been promising for decades to overturn Roe versus Wade,
and that's
yet they haven't done jack shit about it.
Because why are you going to be able to even try overturning it if you got a Supreme Court that's going to be biased to vote in?
Because the Supreme Court recognizes that it's ludicrous to try to overturn Roe versus Wade.
That's the point. That's the point. In these next 4 years. And then in the next 4 years of Trump's presidency, which is inevitable that's going to happen.
Assuming he wins. You don't know that for a fact. You don't know that for a fact.
I don't know for a fact.
He has a strong chance of winning, but you don't know that yet. We're talking about eggs that haven't hatched yet.
Okay. So he gets reelected. He appoints a new Republican justice to the Supreme Court. Roe v.
He's
Wade
already appointed Republican justices.
Exactly.
Try to overturn Roe versus Wade, and they've all failed. Look at all the states: Missouri, Arkansas, Georgia, all the states that have attempted to try to overturn Roe versus Wade, and they all get stopped by the Supreme Court. Do you wonder why?
I wonder why, because the Supreme Court is a biased pro-choice Supreme Court.
Supreme Court is biased all of a sudden, even though Trump is the one that's hiring judges like Brett Kavanaugh, who he himself has said this is ridiculous. We're not going to touch Roe versus Wade. We're going to leave that alone. Really? That's the best you can do? You really think the Republicans give a damn about trying to get rid of abortion?
I would love to respond, but we ran out of time.
And you know what? And I'm just going to say
Joel asked that last question, so that will be Joel's last question. Reese, you have a couple seconds just to respond to that. Go ahead.
So to that point is the fact that the justices on the Supreme Court are being replaced because we want to find a justice that actually knows what the heck they're doing up there. Because if they actually
hasn't happened yet.
You're exactly right. That's why Roe v. Wade hasn't been overturned yet.
So the Republicans are lying to you, Reese. You need to stop voting for them. And my last point here is my very final point.
Joel, that was your last point.
No, I have to say, if Reese and other Republicans...
I'm gonna cut the video off anyway. But what I can tell you is that you can go ahead and talk about that in your 60 seconds that you have left.
Absolutely. All right, here's my final thoughts. So I think Republicans don't actually give a shit about reversing Roe versus Wade. I don't think they actually care about human life, because once those babies are born, they leave them out to die on the streets. They really don't care at all. And statistically speaking, women who are denied abortion, who end up being forced to have those babies, they end up on things like welfare and government assistance, which I know Republicans hate. I know they hate that. Republicans are supposed to be all about personal responsibility and being able to take care of yourself, right? Well, then maybe we should actually stop and think to ourselves, wait a minute, what can we do to reduce abortions? And I would say my final thought, if Republicans actually cared and pro-lifers alike cared about reducing the number of abortions, they would actually look at the science, they would look at the data and the statistics that suggest that comprehensive sex education actually plays a huge role in reducing the number of abortions, rather than abstinent-only curriculum that actually causes more teen pregnancies, therefore more abortions. So again, if Republicans really want to limit the number of abortions, maybe they should stop voting Republican and start voting Democrat. That's my final thought. I'm pro-choice. I disagree with pro-life completely, and I think it's a silly take altogether, no matter what justification you have for it. Religious, morally.
Understood, Joel.
Let me start my time right now. Let me start my time right now.
All right,
Come on. I want to back up that last statement.
He actually went over,
I
so
apologize.
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna put this up to 75 seconds for you.
For
so
sure.
Give me 1 second.
For sure.
All right. So you can, Joel, you got to contain yourself and not interrupt Reese.
I'm keeping my microphone muted just so I don't interrupt. So go ahead.
All right. Go ahead, Reese. Go ahead.
So off of the last statement that Joel made on that, no matter the justification, goes to show the fact that a lot of pro-choicers don't care what facts get thrown in their face. They're just going to continue living with this opinion that they've made in and of themselves. Now, to the fact that Republicans like to not do anything about it, I agree. We shouldn't be teaching abstinent-only sex education. We should be teaching fully comprehensive sex education in schools. That's a fact. But that doesn't change that we should just try to justify it by killing these babies that just people don't deem necessary to America's population. I mean, in Russia, they nearly have 27,000 women that die from pregnancy, but yet they conduct 6 to 7 million abortions every year. There's a reason behind that, people. Okay, abortions do not it's not about the women's health right now. It's not about women dying from pregnancy, because guess what, people? There are millions of abortions that happen in a country that has less than half of our population, and it still doesn't help them. Okay, we have the best healthcare facilities, I believe, in the world. Maybe not the best coverage, but that's a wholly different point. The total comprehensive situation on the abortion argument is not the fact that the Republicans aren't doing enough. It's the fact that we can't get it done because Democrats like you are stopping us.
Woo! Woo! All right. Okay. Well, man, that was. I mean, I had fun. You guys have fun?
I totally enjoyed it, man. It's been forever since I've actually had like a really heated debate. I was so pumped for this.
Joel, you're still on mute. You're talking, but it's not going anywhere.
I apologize.
No worries. Joel, did you have fun in the debate, man?
I was just saying when I was muted, I had a ton of fun. This was great. Like Reese said, heated debate. I love it. I apologize if I came off as unhinged, but this is something that I do take very seriously.
I think that it's important. I think that there are certain topics, and it's not so much about being triggered, it's that you are passionate about your stance, right?
Of course.
Now, trigger would be something irrational and starting to lash out and insult somebody. You guys kept it cordial.
Exactly.
Just being a little bit heated in a debate is natural, man.
Of course.
If you're passionate about that.
Well, this was definitely different, different climate, different atmosphere than my debate with Alicia, because that one was super cookie cutter. This one actually felt a lot more like a real debate where two people are actually passionate about what they're talking about and know what they're talking about and have facts and their things that support their claims. So Reese, I agree to disagree, but it was a wonderful debate, my friend. I appreciate your time.
It was definitely a debate. Listen, man, it's now up to the people that view the video to decide who won, I guess, because I'm sure that we're kind of in the situation now where we both.
I'm sure like Reese thinks that he won and Joel thinks that he won.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Right.
So right. I'm more than happy to send both of my sources on the 95%, since that is a conflicting source that we disagreed on in the debate.
Correct.
So I'm more than happy to send you the Princeton source and the University of Chicago student research.
Absolutely, and I'll be sure to send some of my sources as well. So
So
I hope we
Joel,
can,
where
talk
can
again.
where can people find you? Are you on social media? Where are
I
you?
am. So I'm mainly on Facebook. You know, I post a lot. You know, I post my debates and other political content onto my Facebook account. You can just find me at Joel Brown. If you look me up on Tyler's friends list or anything, you can pretty easily find me. I also post, not so much anymore, but with this debate and the last debate I had with that other girl who was pro-life, I'm going to be posting both the debates to my YouTube channel. I don't have a huge following there, but you can find me there at UltimateKillStorm. That's UltimateKillStorm, all one word. I made it when I was like 10, so bear
Of
with
course,
me.
that would be your handle.
Right. So, so feel free to check the videos out.
It's perfect for this. It's perfect for this debate.
Right,
Ultimate
right.
Killstorm.
So
Where
feel
they're
free
killing
to
kids.
Feel
Okay.
free to subscribe and like the videos when they're up. That's where you can find me.
No worries, man. No worries. Hey, Reese, where can people find you?
People can find me on pretty much anywhere, but mainly TikTok, The Conservative Values. We are growing the channel there, definitely. And I'm moving on to actually posting more on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. You guys can check me all under the same handle, The Conservative Values. Check out, I usually post pretty frequently on all my social medias as long as I have the opportunity to.
Awesome. And what about you guys listening at home? Who had the better arguments? Did either of them help to change your mind? I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this debate and you want to hear more, then make sure that you follow us at 21 Minute Debates. But until next time.